Hello and welcome to another episode of Popelessly Catholic. Our personal guide for you how to be a devout Catholic without adhering to the Pope. No, I'm just kidding, obviously. Welcome to another episode of Hopelessly Casual. We're your hosts as always. I'm Christian, and with me as always is...
Hello, here's Freya. Everybody be blessed on this beautiful, beautiful... What is today? Saturday.
It doesn't matter. It's a beautiful day in the Catholic world, isn't it? And now
You're not a little... Okay, I'm not going to finish that sentence. Let's continue.
Beautiful. Now that we've alienated the 5 Catholic listeners, let's continue.
If that didn't happen up until this point, then I don't know.
I don't know what will.
No.
Right, so basically today we're talking about our favourite and least favourite creatures in horror. Isn't that correct?
Exactly. And I will say this topic is huge. Just in terms of, because horror, what is horror? We have horror in films, we have horror in books, we have horror in games. There's so many ways to talk about this that I'm just crippled by choice because there's so many options.
Seriously, as always, I think I've approached things a lot simpler than you did because you're the smart one out of the two of us. And I was like, I came up with the topic, I believe, and I was immediately like, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about.
Well, then go ahead, you get us started.
Absolute favourite creature in horror. It's very classic, it's not very imaginative, but werewolves.
Werewolves, I knew you were going to say that.
Exactly. Werewolves are fucking great. I mean, everything about it is just so bloody scary. You know, you can put them in any age, really. It doesn't matter. You can do a medieval film about it. You can do modern day film about it. They work in books. The setting really doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
You can put them in video games, you know, like Skyrim did so quite successfully. The Witcher, yeah, my God. Witcher 3, when you've got
that moral conundrum that you have with the werewolf.
I didn't give a fuck about the moral conundrum.
Excuse you?
But you've got this mission with a hut in the forest where it's so obvious that you've got something along the lines of werewolf going on, and I was immediately like, okay, I'm so scared. Then you go into the cave and you have to wait until nightfall, and then the werewolf comes. And unless you've played The Witcher, you've got absolutely no idea what we're talking about right now. But maybe...
It's very likely that you have or know it because you're listening to us, and...
I know from the few listeners we have right now, a lot of them are our friends, and I can
That's a
at
sad
least,
statement.
Well, I guess it's fine. We love you guys. Don't get us wrong. But
we also love our friends. Keep listening.
But I can tell you that much. I've got a lot of friends who haven't played The Witcher, any of the parts.
Well, why are you friends with them? I'm kidding. Please keep listening.
That's a fair point. Also kidding. But
anyway.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Let's start at the beginning, I suppose. I don't really know when I first became aware of the creature of the werewolf.
You became a werewolf.
I'm so fucking going to bleep that out. But, you know, my absolute favourite in terms of werewolf media is An American Werewolf in London.
Which you've said we need to watch because I haven't seen it yet.
I watch it at least once a year. It's a classic horror movie by John Landis, a very, let's say, problematic director at this point.
Okay.
It's a movie from 1981 about, 2 young American male tourists coming to England to, basically explore the islands, or, the British Isles, really. And then, in the moors outside of some podunk village, they get attacked by a werewolf.
Ooh.
And one of them gets killed, and the other one will eventually turn into a werewolf himself. And it's just brilliant because there's just something about this whole bit, the way the movie approaches the whole mythology, or the whole. Well, let's really say
lore.
Lore, not so much lore, but like the creature itself, the morphology of the creature. Sure, why not? Let's go with that.
Let's just go with that.
It's just the first thing that's introduced, and something that made it so clear to me what really made it clear to me why I do enjoy that creature so much, or why I enjoy being afraid of it so much, or being scared of it, is the fact the first thing you hear of it when you watch the movie is the howl. And the howl is done unlike anything I've heard in other werewolf media, because the howl is a mix of, to me, a howl, a wolf's howl, and a human cry.
Oh, that's
And-
eerie.
Exactly, and this is the first thing you hear, and you're like, okay, this is clearly. I mean, the title is An American Werewolf in London. It's like, oh,
It's not exactly.
I wonder what's it going to be.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, okay, this is clearly no normal wolf. Again, title, sure. But something about like, it sounds tormented and not fully devoid of humanity.
Fair.
And then you've got the creature design, of course, by Rick Baker, who did all the makeup effects and everything.
Practical effects, of course, because it's the 80s.
Exactly. And Rick Baker is an absolute master of his craft. I think at this point the guy won 7 Oscars, been nominated for many more. And the whole thing is, like, everything about this is so centered around the creature. And there was ultimately they ended up doing the creature as walking on all fours. I think Rick Baker was very much in favor of doing it walking upright.
Harry Potter.
Yes, and it's been even done in the very unsuccessful sequel, which was horrible, An American Werewolf in Paris, starring a fairly young Juliette Binoche, for good reason. It's not a very good movie, but then they put the werewolves actually on their hind legs.
Okay.
And the creature design's great. And they use London later as a location so wonderfully. They the grand, climax is happening in Piccadilly Circus.
Where else? It was going to be that
Obviously.
or Hyde Park.
Obviously. And but they decided to put the creature on all fours, and I always thought that's a bit of a shame, even though it looks great. Something that always stuck out to me, and I always wondered, and it became so clear to me in that howl, why I love being scared of that creature so much, is simply for one reason. It clearly shouldn't exist. It's half man, half wolf.
Yeah.
And you've got this thing, especially when they walk on their hind legs, something that looks like a wolf shouldn't move like that. It shouldn't be built like that. It shouldn't sound like that. And then you give it some glowy yellow eyes, and I'm hooked, and I'm like, oh my God, werewolf, yes, I'm afraid, and I love it. Give me more of that.
Yeah.
And that was my most enduring encounter with werewolves, because I think I watched it at a fairly young age, at least parts of it. And what's very iconic about it is the transformation scene. Because normally when you do transformation scenes with werewolves, you do it in the dark, or a bit like where you can't see all that much, but you see the body shifting and changing.
Yeah,
and all
so that you can play with the shapes and the shadows, and the imagination runs a bit wild.
Exactly, and maybe you don't have, the budget or the ingenuity or the CG to really make it look great. But for this movie, they threw that out of the window, and it's happening in neon light. Ooh. He first transforms into the werewolf when he's sitting in the living room in London. And there's, overhead neon light, and it's happening in real time, so to speak, while you can see all of it.
Damn.
And the ingenuity is great. So basically they work with a lot of, rubber and latex and creature effects and, the lengthening of the snout. And then, for example, when you see a close-up of his skin and all the hair shooting out, and you watch the making of, and how they done that basically is they pulled all this hair back inside the skin and just played it backwards for the film.
Oh, that's so smart.
That's super smart. And you have to come up with those things when you don't have CG so readily available in 1980.
Yeah.
So you can release it in 81. And then, he's like the actor is halfway descended into the floor. So basically you can have a rubber werewolf writhing body, half transformed. He gets some prosthetic teeth and everything. And it's just incredible. You're scared, you're fascinated. It's like, for me, this whole thing is, this shouldn't exist, like this is not what a wolf or a man should look like. And then, it cuts away, and you've got the howl, and you've got, of course, the whole setting in and of itself is so great, because a werewolf can't exist during the day. It has to be a full moon. So you've got a very specific time frame when it can exist.
It's the thing, it's the established rules, and it's like the chaos that is the mixture of animal and man, but within these set rules that you know how it works, which in a way even helps further the tension, because you know when you are safe, but because you know when you are safe, the tension is building when you know, oh fuck, it's nighttime, oh fuck, there's the moon, oh god.
And it's something very primal, because at night,
Yeah, I mean,
by definition, you feel more exposed, you don't know what's out there.
Our senses aren't working as well, we can't see that well.
You've got that very specific moment throughout the month where it's a full moon, and you're like, not only is it dark, but things might be about. Obviously they're not, but you know, like it's fun to be scared of things, and you know, like to have your imagination run wild. And you know, like this for me was always like, oh my god, a full moon. The full moon in and of itself has been fascinating for people.
Always.
Ever since.
Because it is also evolutionary wise, it is so important for us, because the full moon will give us enough light so that we can actually somewhat function at night.
Absolutely.
Like new moon, absolutely no chance for humans in the forest. Full moon, chances somewhat.
Exactly. This is why the full moon was such a big deal when it was invented in 1789.
Exactly.
Ever since people are like, okay, great.
Since Newton came up with the full moon after the apple dropped, and he was like, what if we had an apple in the sky that is white?
Yeah, and then Newton, exactly, and the people were like, oh, this is great, we can somewhat see at night, but what are we going to do about all those man wolves? And he's like, no, call them werewolves. Fine. Exactly, but...
German law, I think, by the way. Fairly sure werewolves are German myth, originally. Like Indo-German law.
Oof. I mean, this is... I've done a bit of research, you know, over the years, because I love being... I've been so fascinated with those things. I know that, for example, the myth of the silver bullet came from the German nobility, basically, you know, like, okay, you had people or wolves, or... No, let's go about it like this. Yet wolves set loose on, you know, like your peasants' lands, and they basically kill the cattle. Or you had your, you know, like your servants do it, you know, dressed up as wolves. So like, oh no, this is no normal wolf. This is a werewolf. You can only kill it with a silver bullet.
Yeah.
And where are you gonna get silver? Oh, you can get it from me, but then you're even more indentured to me.
Pretty mean.
That's fucked up, isn't it?
That is incredibly mean. I know that like a lot of typical European myths that we know and that we have actually do have German origin. Like trolls, for example, any sort of little kobold, not the little like gold hoarding ones. Obviously, those are Irish and Druid based on the British Isles, but like the little like deformed ones that you'll find in the forest. Fairies, Scandinavian, but also for some reason some German origin. Like there's different kinds that sort of blended. It's because we had forests. That's the thing. Germany had so many forests. Like the Black Forest used to be so much bigger than it is these days, and it was. I mean, it doesn't get its name from nothing. Like it used to be so dense and deep and dark. I mean, the Brothers Grimm. Every second tale is involving a forest and witches. Hags of some kind, always forest, and a lot of that comes from what used to be German territory. I mean, obviously, Germany always had like changing borders. Germany always changed. It was Holy Roman Empire of Germany before it was Germany, and before that it was like all this little state, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of our classic horror lore, surprisingly enough, like not even what we would consider horror these days, but like again like trolls or giants to some extent as well, have like Scandinavian German origins. And I was always under the impression that werewolves, to some extent, also belong in that pot as well. Even though quite often you have varying origins, because humans sort of come up with the same things all across the globe the time. Which is scary to think about.
This is why you have got different depictions, for example, of vampires all around the world. If you've got the ancient Greek vampire, they're more akin to what we would consider a harpy today, you know, like with wings and everything, more bird-like, but still drinking the blood of people. But yes, I do seem to recall that especially the term "there" in front of the wolf is something from ancient German, where it's basically like a man, wolf, or something like this. Please don't quote me on that.
I mean, you are... by accident or not, I don't know, you are quoting The Prisoner of Azkaban right now, because that is the lesson that Snape gives when he's filling in for Lupin once, where he's doing the lesson on werewolves. But it makes sense somewhat, because I mean, I'm completely talking out of my ass here, but like with the little Latin knowledge that I have, vir, as in like vir, means man.
There you
and
go.
were, as in like W-E-R-E, or in German Wer,
W-E-R.
W-E-R, sounds like wir. So, and that means man. So like they just purely combining things I've no idea about other than dangerous half knowledge from 15 years ago. Possible. Possible.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I looked up quite a few of my favourite media, including Werewolf. I absolutely failed, because I'm a hack and a fraud, to look up, the origin of it. But it sounds familiar because back in the day, I used to watch, like those documentaries, let's call them, about the myth of the werewolf and everything.
Yeah.
Because like when you enjoy to be scared of one thing, you also like to transpose it a bit more into the real world.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
you can be just a bit more scared about it.
Absolutely.
And like the History Channel, for example, will do documentaries,
I love the
quote
History
unquote,
Channel.
about most anything.
I love the History Channel so much. When was the last time the History Channel did anything on history?
To be perfectly
and
honest,
not on aliens.
To be perfectly honest, I only looked it up on YouTube. It's like werewolf documentary and all that. And the History Channel came up.
Channel.
Did you?
I used to watch the History Channel sometimes, but that was before I was aware that it was hilarious what I was watching. Like, but we used to.
I used to watch the Food Network. Very little werewolves on there.
Surprising.
A surprising amount of Guy Fieri, though.
Not that surprising.
Not really. But like, and then recently, I got myself the Universal Monsters box. Those classics. Bela Lugosi as Dracula, Boris Karloff as Frankenstein's monster. Then you've got that's great. I just had Lon Chaney Jr. Thank you, as the Wolfman, and I watched them in chronological order. So I think as the third one came the Wolfman from 1941, and technology was quote unquote more primitive in those days, but it's still very, very effective. The movies are like just over 60 minutes long, but just the effects of the mask, the hairy hands and feet, and the black and white eerie atmosphere, the set pieces, the swamps. Yeah, you sit there, if you watch it in the middle of the night, and I have a big projector, you sit there, it's like, this is great, I'm having such a good time.
It's immersive.
It's absolutely immersive.
And you sort of, because it's not too alienating, it is still somewhat fun to go into it because you're still very aware it's a film. So it's not as, like with some modern horror, especially some slasher horror, I at least feel like, of course you're fascinated by the gore. And it's just a morbid fascination with it, and you probably won't look away just because there's some... Either you are glued to the screen because you can't believe what you're seeing.
True.
Or there is some morbid fascination that you have with it, just like, Jesus Christ. But they are not inviting. You don't want to be part of the world. You're very much looking onto it from a distance because it would be horrible to insert yourself into Saw. You don't want that.
Exactly. Exactly. With horror movies like that, especially slasher flicks.
Yeah.
Or, like, what would you call it? Torture porn or something like this.
Yeah.
It's clearly voyeuristic.
Yeah. But with monster films like that, especially the older ones, they are charming in a way. They establish a world that is not inherently evil. It's a little bit alienating and slightly shifted from what we have here, but there's just this one monster. There's one monster that will torment a town. There's this one monster that will give the protagonist and the pretty girl on his side a hard time. And it's not as dangerous for the viewer because it is more clearly a film. It is not so much playing with the horrors of the real world as slashers do, because slashers very much play with the idea of the disgusting, vile abyss that the human nature can become, and for whatever reason, if we want to look into it or not, we somehow be like, what if I met a serial killer on the street tomorrow? No, thank you. But a werewolf, a Dracula, that's okay.
And I can't really speak, like for people of the time watching this movie in 1941. We're talking, cinema still being quite young, 20 odd years. But, a lot of it still lends very heavily at the time from theatre.
Yeah.
So clearly does. And you can see that in the way, you know, like it's staged, you know, camera work is still quite basic. But, you know, like that means you also get a lot of, you know, like dialogue scenes that are shot at a fairly wide angle. And then you've got the background. Sometimes it feels painted because some of it is matte paintings, you know, like background paintings.
I need to show you an episode of Supernatural because I can't help myself thinking of that right now in season 4. Pretty early on in the season. It's one... That's when the show already was quite showing what they were doing, had a pretty big following, and we're like, oh, we can have a bit of fun. And they have one episode which is called, I think it's called Monster Movie. And it's shot completely in black and white. And it's set at a... somewhere in Pennsylvania or something, I believe, during a German Oktoberfest festival that's there. So you are in a little town somewhere in America where it's all done up in a very stereotypical, somewhat medieval German Bavarian way. Cobblestones everywhere, people in dirndls, beer, all that kind of stuff. And then it's playing on all of the 80s movies that you just mentioned, and all the classic Universal things, because the monster that they are hunting in that episode is a shapeshifter. And said shapeshifter has a huge love for the classic horror films. So what he does is he will shift into the monsters and then sort of reenact Dracula, the Wolfman, Mummy, and I think the thing from the swamp.
The creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes, thank you. Creature from the Black Lagoon. And they are all in one episode, just 40 minutes of silly...
That sounds delightful.
It's so loving because it's such a love letter from the show, like from the creators, because obviously Supernatural is, even though it was like a teen flick at its core, of course, but it ran for 15 years with initially being a love letter to horror. Because it, like the early seasons, say seasons 1 to 4.5-ish, are still very much leaning into the horror idea. And like they explore different kind of myths, horrors, legends all across the world. And that episode is so wholesome because it adds nothing to the to the overall plot of the season. It's a filler episode completely, but all it does is just lovingly poke fun and but in a way also adore the roots basically of what we think of in modern horror times and creatures. We definitely need to watch that episode. That episode.
Even if I never watch another episode of Supernatural, I really want to watch that.
It's adorable.
And then, you know, they had the remake of The Wolfman in 2010, which had a stellar cast. I do enjoy this movie a lot.
Okay, who's in it?
Anthony Hopkins.
What?
It has Benicio del Toro.
What?
It has Hugo Weaving as the inspector.
How have I not heard of this?
I have it on Blu-ray. We can watch it anytime you want.
We are watching that.
Exactly. Let me just look something up here.
What?
And it also features Emily Blunt as the female lead. And it's absolutely delightful because, of course, you have, how do I best describe it? I think the climax is fucked.
Yeah.
Because it just looks silly.
Yeah.
But again, they bring Rick Baker for the practical, you know, makeup effects, and it pays tribute to the original 1941 movie in terms of they stick with that makeup. Of course, they enhance it a bit. Mm-hmm. And, of course, they, you know, like enhance it with CGI.
Right.
And I think this is what really fucks the climax for me. But the atmosphere is great because, you know, like you've got Lawrence Talbot, which is the name of the original character in the original as well, returning to his estate, to his father's estate, his estranged father. You know, like his father is English, of course, they're estranged. Played by Anthony Hopkins, and you've got this huge, basically empty mansion.
Oh, I love settings like that.
Exactly, and it's mostly set at night. And then you've got, you know, like after the first few killings and everything, and no one knows what's going on because, of course, the killings are gruesome. They call in a policeman, played by Hugo fucking Weaving.
What the fuck?
And Hugo Weaving is perfect for this because first thing he does, he comes into town, he sits down in the tavern, and they refuse to serve him, saying, you know, like, shouldn't you be out there, you know, like looking for the killer? And he stays entirely calm, you know, he's like, well, from what I understand, you know, it mostly kills off citizens, you know, like, or people who live in the village. So I think it's easiest if I stay close to those people, and most of them seem to be in this tavern. And you
Slay.
yeah, and Hugo Weaving with his dry wit, and also he's a great actor. You really have to give it to him. Just delivers. You know, like it's a strong cast. Emily Blunt, always a delight to have in any movie.
How have I not heard of this film?
It was fairly successful when it came out. I think, guys, watch it for yourselves. If you know the original, especially, I think with the climax, I don't know, it comes off as a bit of a CGI shits the bed fest, so to speak. But overall, I think the atmosphere is great. Of course, there's a lot more gore in there, but I think handled quite to the film's advantage, actually, because, you know, like it's like gruesome in parts, but, you know, like it shows the thing between, you know, like the beast and the man and all of that. I enjoyed it greatly. So, you know, like let's watch that soon.
Absolutely.
And then I think one more, as long as we're still talking movies, one more werewolf film I'd really like to recommend is Ginger Snaps.
Also not seen it.
That's a bit of a hidden gem. The people who know it normally love it. But most people don't know it. It's from 2000, starring, hang on, I've got it somewhere around here.
Ginger Snaps.
Ginger Snaps. Where is it? Here it is. It's from 2000, starring Emily Perkins and Catherine Isabel.
Okay.
And basically it's about two sisters. I watched it years ago.
Right.
But one of them basically gets cursed with the curse of the werewolf, basically, and starts to change. And just the atmosphere and the effects of the creature, again, outstanding. And this is one of those movies that's really scary. And, you know, like, I haven't watched it in years, but it left a really lasting impression on me, so much that I hardly remember anything about it, other than the fact that it was really great.
But fair enough.
And one more. And that's
one more.
That's Cursed with Christina Ricci.
Cursed.
And a very young Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And I think it wasn't all that big when it came out. Hang on, it's from 2005.
Okay.
But, you know, like Christina Ricci was, you know, like still known, you know, like big thing or, you know, big star in the 90s, child actress and everything. You've got Jesse Eisenberg, Portia de Rossi is in it, and was actually directed by Wes Craven. So, you know, like,
okay.
and it's scary in parts,
right?
But it doesn't take itself too seriously.
It wouldn't. If it was Wes Craven,
exactly.
It wouldn't.
You've literally got a werewolf flipping the protagonists off because they, you know, like insult her because she's a vain woman in real, or, you know, like when she's not transformed. We need to watch that one too.
Yeah.
Those are my recommendation in terms of werewolf movies.
Okay.
Go out and watch them, especially if you want still a scary time but a more light-hearted time. Watch Cursed. And let's not forget, even though American Werewolf in London is still a very scary movie, it also has its light-hearted and still quite silly elements.
They need that.
True.
Okay, so funnily enough, I mean, the thing is, if we talk about creatures and if we talk about horror creatures, I sort of have to stop myself a little bit because, as I've mentioned before on the podcast, I'm a sucker for monsters. But like in terms of like, I'm not gonna go ahead and try to cheat my way into this conversation by considering Jurassic Park or Godzilla horror films.
Not really.
Even though Godzilla was intended as it sort of originally in a way, and the first Jurassic Park also heavily plays with horror elements here and there because Spielberg's really good with shadows, black and white, darkness, lightning, all that kind of stuff.
But I still think both of them fall more into the category of action.
Yeah, they do.
Monster movie,
yes,
but more like giant monster movie.
Because
sort
like
of thing.
if you just ask creature, I will say anything with dinosaurs, no matter how bad, because I love dinosaurs. Everything with any big monster, Godzilla, anything dragony. But we stay with horror, and we stay with actual horror. And I'm having a little bit of a hard time, or when I was thinking about the topic, I did have a little bit of a hard time with separating a certain type of creature from the film. So I can always be like, oh, that film was really scary with that, and it featured that. But funnily enough, what is just the most prominent thing that has been with me when it comes to horror creatures is not that far off from a werewolf, and we talked about that a little bit when we started with the before the episode. It's a Wendigo, or Wendigo, depending. Like I've heard both pronunciations. I will not claim to know how to pronounce it because I believe it is a Native American word inherently in itself. But I've come across Wendigos in different film franchises and game franchises.
Exactly. I only know them from
Until
Dawn.
Fantastic game. Fantastic game. Not that much gameplay in terms of you don't have to do much. It's more like an interactive film that features quick time events.
You can have several different outcomes.
So many different outcomes. Like you are playing the different characters, and it's a group. It's a horror film as a game. Basically, it's a group of teenagers going up into this hut up in the mountains, and then they get eventually stalked by Wendigos, and then they have the classic teenage horror film trope dynamics. You have the jock, you have the shy little girl, you have the pretty girl.
But I think in the beginning you also have a bit of a fake out, because they have this masked killer roaming, which I thought is that, because I watched a Let's Play of it.
Yeah.
I was like, well, okay, that's fairly standard fare, but it still looks fun. Yeah. And then it's basically a fake out.
It is.
For what's really going on, which is Wendigos.
Yeah, and just in case people aren't necessarily aware of what Wendigos are, because I think it's a somewhat obscure thing to mention. The idea of so Wendigos are a Native American legend, and they are sort of humanoid monster that used to be human, and said human started consuming human flesh for whatever reason. That varies depending on the source material, but eventually the consumption of the human flesh turned them into this not at all human creature that is towering over humans, as usually very, very tall. Quite often don't have a single hair on their body. They're sort of like, if you think of the werewolf design in Harry Potter, if you just take out the snout, so if you just keep like a humanoid head with it, they're sort of looking like that quite often. Obviously they eat humans. They're super fast, they're super strong, and a scary thing about them is they can also imitate human voices quite often, and they're also super smart most of the time when they're depicted, like apex predator smart, and they will sometimes try to lure the prey, humans, out into the forest, where they then can snatch them up and either eat them immediately or like store them somewhere in the mines. And they are mainly native to the Appalachians, is the mountain range called, right? Like on the east coast of the States.
I'm sorry, I'm absolutely horrible when it comes to
it's a thing. It's sort of like a viral thing on TikTok as well. Like has been, at least. It may just be my algorithm, but where people are like, don't go out at night in these areas, in these foresty areas, and it should be the Appalachians, where they are stalking. So it's sort of a, call it urban myth that's still sort of prevalent to this day.
But isn't it funny, because again, this shows people like to be scared.
Yeah.
Because hopefully no one's taking, like giving this warning in earnest, like don't go out, there's Wendigos about, or there's werewolves or vampires or whatever.
Yeah.
But like just people like this, just the little tingle going down the spine, and you're just like, oh yeah, now I'm walking through a forest throughout the whatever mountains, like who knows what's around the next bend. I love that. I absolutely love that. I loved it as a kid around Halloween. Halloween's still my favorite, holiday. Mm-hmm. And then, like, when I was little, we had dogs, and it's like, okay, you have to take the dog out. And it's like, oh, but it's already dark. And then you go with your dog, and it's just like, and you've got the fallen leaves, you've got the barren trees, you see the moon, and it's just like, oh.
Oh my God, I need to tell an anecdote just because of that. A little bit of a derail, but still horror related. I was watching the film Hereditary with the little brother of a friend, and said little brother, not little, so like he's like 21, 22 or something. This was just a couple months ago, and we were watching Hereditary. He could not move properly because he had pulled some muscle in his leg or anything, and there was a dog at home. My friend was at work, and we were there, and then I had to walk the dog still, just to do him a favor, because he couldn't walk after the film. So we're watching this at bloody midnight. And Hereditary is it's a very good film. It's a really pretty film, but it's scary. It's just scary. It's oh my God, who's the director?
I can look it up.
Ari Aster.
Oh, well done you.
It's an Ari Aster film. He also did Midsummer and Beau is Afraid. One of my favorite films of the last year, by the way.
Joaquin Phoenix, right?
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix and Beau is Afraid. Also, big watch from me. I've seen it twice in the last year. Big recommendation. bit triggering for people that have anxiety, not gonna lie, because that's the whole deal, but it's great. Hereditary, however, also an Ari Aster film, and it picks up the pace towards the end, and I don't know what it was, but we were just, as we were watching it, we were just sort of like really delving into it, and we were like pushing each other like really up this scared scale, and we're just like, oh my god, are you seeing that? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, and we were just like, it was fun. We're indulging it. Then the film was over.
And you had to walk the dog.
And I had to walk the dog at like 1 a.m. or something. I was like, okay, that's fine. It's just took the dog, put on the leash, left the house, and I was walking behind through like a little park, not just a little like grass patch basically, but that was leading up to a pedestrian walk that was separated from the street next to it with one of these high like noise stopping walls were like to protect the urban like housing behind
from the freeway.
Exactly, from the freeway. And it was just this very long road, long sidewalk with the street lights next to it, and then was just this wall on the other side, and there was just like nothing there. And I'm just like, it's okay. It was just a film. And every single supernatural element in any media ever always tells you animals are way more susceptible to this. So as long as the dog is calm, nothing's wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we walk down this fucking pedestrian road, turn around, walk back, and suddenly the fucking dog starts pulling on the leash. His hair starts standing on end. He starts growling and tucking his tail a bit. And I'm trying to see what he is seeing. I can't see shit. And I'm looking at the dog and I'm just like, why are you upset? What's happening? Why are you nervous? What? Nobody's here. And I get scared. I genuinely get scared because I try to rationalize myself out of this interview because it's stupid. You are 27. Calm down. This is silly. What are you doing? It's fine. And then when the dog next to me started being nervous, I was like, nope. What the fuck's happening here? Something's happening. It was a Chihuahua.
Aww.
There was some other fucking dog walker. And the dog was reacting to the other dog that was so tiny I didn't see it. And the other dog owner was like around the corner and had just let his dog run free. That's why it was coming up to us. And I didn't see the other person. And my dog there was just reacting. I was so scared. And then it was a bloody Chihuahua. Like, just because we're so trained to the idea of animals and horror go so hand in hand.
Yeah.
So hand in hand. Sorry, that just reminded me of that. Was one of the most ridiculous experiences I have had this year.
But it's sort of, like...
It was ridiculous.
It's understandable though, like when I was little and we had dogs, it was always a comfort to have them sleep at the end of the bed.
Because as long as they're calm, you can be calm.
The problem is though, the moment they're not,
oh god,
you're just like, okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna die now.
Absolutely, because you're like, oh, you're the dog. You might die before me, actually. Sorry about that.
Yes, and you're looking at the dog and you're just like, you're gonna defend me, and it's like, no, mate, you're on your own.
You're
it's
on
like,
your own, sorry.
Look at your size, look at mine. I'm out of here the moment I get my chance. You're like, fuck.
Yeah, that's fair.
And the thing is, when I was little, exactly, I was sleeping on the top floor, and one of the dogs was sleeping at the end of the bed. The other one was sleeping all the way downstairs because he was very old and he couldn't really do the stairs and he didn't want to be carried upstairs every night. So my dog at the end of the bed, she starts perking up. And then, starts growling. She's not a big dog, but, like in the middle of the night, it's pitch black, your eyes have adjusted to the dark. She starts growling and you're like, okay, what's going on? And it's just like, I don't know, maybe something from the neighbors or something like that. But then the dog downstairs starts barking, and we're talking 2 floors down, and I'm home alone.
No.
I'm just like, okay, this is great. You have to go downstairs to see what's going on.
How old were you?
I was 13.
That sucks.
And the thing is, we had those wooden stairs. You couldn't get down those stairs without making a lot of noise, creaking, cracking, whatever.
Yeah.
And he walked downstairs, and to this very day, I don't know what they heard, saw, or sensed. But you get downstairs, nothing was going on. But this was the longest...
It was probably just a squirrel in the garden or something.
It didn't matter what it was. But, they were both in agreement that something was going on.
Yeah.
And this walk down every step's like...
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to get jumped. I'm going to get murdered by everything I was ever afraid of. And then and of course, like you basically do a sweep of the house. You go through every fucking room, open every fucking cupboard.
Dude, I still do that. If I get in a certain weird mood at some point, I love horror films, right? I watch a lot of horror films, I always have. But if I allow even half a thought before I go to bed to enter my mind of a what if, I'm just like, I'm gonna get my phone, I'm gonna turn on the flashlight, and I'm gonna do a sweep. It's ridiculous. I'm 27.
Yeah, but it's like the more like you speak with people about this, it's nice to see. I'm 35. Yeah. That people are still doing that. Yeah. It's just like that. When you're in bed, you're not letting a limb hang out of the bed, even though it's great for
not do that.
Getting a bit cooler. But you're not gonna do that because of fucking whatever.
That reminds me of one of my favorite memes of all time. It's just like me laying in bed, letting my arm dangle off the bed, the demon under my bed grabbing my arm, me going, "What are we?"
I do remember that one. But yeah, we went a bit outside.
Off topic, sorry.
Yeah.
So Wendigos, I sort of like, in terms of like horror creature, because I think I quite enjoy lore if it's well done. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy creatures, mm-hmm. just in general, like animalistic creatures. Usually there's a lot of examples where just like anything monstrous, anything again that goes like in a dinosaur or Godzilla direction, but I like all of that. But I also enjoy well designed backstories to the monsters that we are facing. So I was watching with a friend of mine, I was watching a horror movie recently called Smile, and which came out, I think, 2 years ago. Last year or 2 years ago.
I heard about it, yes.
It was not bad, not at all, not by any means. But the creature, the thing was never that clearly defined. It's sort of just like this evil entity that will possess someone who is trauma riddled, and then they will basically drive them insane, and by that break their mind further and further, feed on them, and then until they kill them in front of someone else. And seeing someone else commit suicide, basically, will then traumatize the next person, then it'll jump on. And, like, the idea is that when you are possessed by that thing, you always see people smiling in a super creepy way. It's just like it's and that's the whole plot. And that was...
You couldn't see it right now, but Freya was smiling in an exceedingly creepy way.
Yeah. Not that I don't usually... No, but... It was never clearly defined. Is it a ghost? Is it a demon? Is it a monster? Something in between? But that didn't necessarily matter because it was executed in a way that I thought worked. Because as long as you give me enough background, enough, because I'm curious.
Exactly. Give me lore.
Yeah, I want to know the lore, and ideally, if you have like several parts about a thing, I want to know more about the lore. That was a thing with Hereditary, for example, that I was a little bit dissatisfied with, because the entire film you try to figure out what's going on, and then towards the end, it kind of is a thing where they were doing like a summoning ritual for one of the 8 head honcho demons in hell. Someone, Asmodeus or something, I have no idea. But it was sort of either, for me it was one of two things. Either it was done too superficially, so they would have needed to introduce the concept of it way earlier in the film to explore it more in depth, to give me, because if you do a biblical demon as your monster, give it the gravitas that it has. You have a lot of source material to draw from. The Bible is right there. Or don't take it to that level. If you don't want to really delve into... if you want to leave the view in the dark and just have the creepy things happen because they're creepy, then don't go that specific. Just be like, it's an entity.
Yeah.
But trying to do both, so sort of like keep it vague, and then in the last 5 minutes suddenly there's
exposition
the summoning.
Dump.
Yeah. I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. And yeah.
I mean, this is why lore and world building is so important, especially like in horror. I mean, like in a movie like Halloween, you can keep it sort of vague. He's the brother of the girl he's like stalking. fair enough. We know he's not well. We know he killed his sister and a boyfriend when he was little. Fair enough. But, I was very impressed when I got first in touch with Vampire the Masquerade, which is a pen and paper role-playing game that was turned into several video games. We're now waiting for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2.
Right.
I think there's, I don't know what genre they basically are, but there's several coming out right now that sort of flash out the backstory. But I was so impressed with it because it's basically it flashes out this society next to society, but kind of intertwined with our society. Like the vampires, they move among us. Because they have to live, they can't reveal themselves because there's still way too many humans. They just eradicate the vampires. But the backstory goes back all the way to Cain and Abel.
I see.
After Cain slays Abel, God turns Cain into the first vampire.
I buy that. That's cool.
That's fucking fantastic. And in the very first game, Vampire the Masquerade Redemption, you start as a crusader. And then you're turned into a vampire and you come into modern day sooner or later. And in the second game, and major spoilers ahead for a game that's, I think, at this point, over 20 years old. In the second game, you become a vampire, and you've got this cabbie that drives you all over Los Angeles, turns out towards the end of the game, the cabbie who knows you're a vampire is Cain.
Ooh.
Because there was still the rumor, is Cain still alive?
That's cool.
That was one of those moments where I don't know, I nerdgasmed because I was like, this is done so well. And this is what you have to do, like when you manage to, take the existing myth that's accepted about this, because we've got certain, certain ideas, for example, about vampires or werewolves.
Yeah.
You can sort of play with them. For example, like Interview with a Vampire, where he's like, I like looking at crucifixes. I don't have a problem with that. Even in Vampire the Masquerade, it's like, okay, if you get a stake through the heart, you're only paralyzed, but a shotgun to the head will do you in, and all of that. And like with a wolfman, for example, with a werewolf, it's clear, defined rules. You knew how this creature worked, but at the same time, the way this monster was woven into the overall story, and like the tragic backstory of the family was done brilliantly. And exactly, I feel like, especially with something that's so well woven into pop culture, you can't just be slapdash about it.
Which I think in some way takes us to the second part of the discussion, I guess, with like least favorite.
If I just may ask one thing, I only knew Wendigos from Until Dawn. Do you have any other examples?
Well, Supernatural features one. Actually,
not surprised
the second episode of the entire show is a Wendigo.
Oh, really?
Season 1, episode 2. It's also called Wendigo, which is it's one of my favorite episodes because it's really cool. They go into the forest and hike there because some hikers got taken away and disappeared somewhere in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, America, canyons, woods, everything.
Do I actually have to watch Supernatural?
We will watch some Supernatural. You have me, I will filter through it for you.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. But that episode is quite cool because it plays a lot with the monster in of itself. It shows it very late. The budget. You have to consider it's just a TV show. This was the second episode of the first season. Obviously, they didn't have the budget that it would need.
It's the early 2000s,
It's
not quite
yeah,
it's not quite yet the golden age of TV.
No, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
But still, But it's a really fun episode, and they do the whole thing. They do like the thing of like they explain the law. Then they have the thing was like trying to lure them out. Then they have one of the people that is with them is like this real macho hunter guy who's like, oh, I can take this thing out. I'm taking out grizzlies and everything, and they're like, this thing is faster than you, stronger than you, and smarter than you, and you are on its menu. And it's just a really cool episode. Like, I really like it. And then I have also come across Wendigos in another horror film that I watched recently, which was called Antlers.
Oh, I was watching the trailer for that on Disney Plus the other day, and I was thinking about watching that.
Exactly, it's good. It's
but
a
it was
good
like
watch.
2 a.m. I was like, I feel like watching horror. Okay, not that kind of horror.
Yeah.
Not that horror-y horror.
It's fun. It's really good. It came out I think a year or two ago. It's quite recent, and that's also Wendigo. It's a bit of a different approach to it, which is also cool because the design is a bit different from what I described earlier. Because basically the characters that get change. There's several stages of transformation, and the final one kind of looks a little bit like the forest god from Princess Mononoke.
This isn't even my final form.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't much better, is it? Fuck off, I've got antlers.
So it's like on all fours and has like these antlers on its head. And then there was one really cool shot where when the thing was like finally completely transformed, it was for a brief moment it still had the human face of what it used to look like. Because it basically sheds in a way, but it wasn't completely shedded. So the human face was like leather face, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, hanging off of the animalistic skull behind it till it came. It looked.
I'm glad
gruesome.
I didn't watch it.
It's gruesome, but it looked really good. The effects also looked really good. But yeah, that's the 3 examples that I can think of right now in terms of Wendigos. I have others. But I can't think of them right now. But again, and then it's just like random TikTok stuff as well, where people just like, fake recordings of like them being on their porch and like filming out, and then you hear like things, and then the comments are like, oh my god, don't go out, this is not human, or that kind of stuff.
I mean, I
enjoy that.
People do love this kind of thing. This is why I looked up the History Channel werewolf documentary, because people are talking like, okay,
in a way, Wendigos are just modern werewolves, I feel.
Well, not really that modern, because
no, but in modern pop culture.
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of
just discovered. Before we go to our least favourite creatures from horror, I'd just like to make one book recommendation in terms of werewolves. It's called Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King.
Ooh!
It's a horror novella.
I've never read it. I know that it exists, but
I think it was first published in a magazine as 12 short stories, the 12 chapters of the story.
That's cool.
It's out of print, I think, at least in Europe it is. You'd have to get it, second hand.
You may also get it on Kindle or something.
Something like this, but make sure you get it with the 12 illustrations.
Oh, okay.
Because they're done so well. It was turned into a movie called Silver Bullet, starring Gary Busey.
I've heard of that.
The werewolf looks silly, but the film is still quite effective.
Fair enough.
Plus, the main protagonist is a young boy in a wheelchair. Actually, who's the only one who realizes.
That's an interesting concept.
Exactly, who's the only one who realizes, who the monster is, and that there is an actual werewolf. And the drawings in the book are incredible. They're very gruesome sometimes, but the artist is fantastic. And the whole, just because it's short chapters, werewolf action needs to happen in every chapter.
Right.
And it just hits the spot. It's not a book you read before bed.
That's
because
cool.
It's done so well. It puts the creature in so many different situations. This is, in terms of horror literature, it's a quick read, but I highly recommend it.
I will take that. I will note that down. That is really cool. That is really, really cool. I love this kind of stuff. But yeah, to move on to least favorite, I think, even though this is a bit of a boring answer, I don't necessarily think I can easily just single out a creature. It's the same thing that I just said about favorite. If it's done well, I like it. If it's not done well, I dislike it. Something people probably expected us to talk about with this topic, and maybe surprised that we didn't. Clowns.
Oh.
And mainly the clown from It. And I bring it up in this part of the episode and not the favorite one because, unfortunately for me, the clown from It, and I'm talking about the book, and I mean I've seen the remake, but I'm referring now to the classic Pennywise, the film, the TV film that came out in the 80s, I believe it was.
Starring Tim Curry.
Yes, exactly. Like if you think of It, you always think of Tim Curry.
First, yeah, I do too.
The thing is, the clown was pretty scary. How it was done, horror clown, the concept, distorting something that we are usually used to liking and then turning it scary, great.
And he could be silly, but he could become menacing in with the drop of a hat.
Exactly.
And then like when they gave him the sharp teeth and everything, that worked for me.
Exactly, but then it turns into just a random alien.
The alien spider.
And it's just not scary anymore.
Exactly.
I'm sorry, it stopped being scary then, and there was still interesting, but it wasn't scary anymore.
We'll have to do an episode on Stephen King.
Yeah,
because
we do.
I feel like the man wrote some really great horror fiction.
Did.
And at the same time, he wrote some really bad horror fiction.
Reading Misery, I've talked about this before on the podcast. It fucked me up. It was great.
Fantastic. And the movie, fantastic as well.
Yeah,
but at the
Kathy
same
Bates.
time, you know, like you've got something like It, which deals with so many interesting things, and the creature's great and everything. How do you fuck that up towards the end so badly? It's
so
an alien
badly.
spider. Where was the editor in this thing saying, no, it's not?
Yeah.
We have to protect this great product from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And here is something, you know, like I was very impressed with in the remake. First of all, they really put a lot of money in this.
They did, and James McAvoy in the second part.
It's James McAvoy.
It's James McAvoy.
Even the
What
casting
can you
of the
do?
kids was incredible.
It was
They
great.
were cast so well.
And the acting was surprisingly good.
Fantastic. But, you know, like, to do it as 2 chapters, great. You
Also
know, like,
smart.
meaning you...
I mean, the book is like 1,000-something pages.
Exactly.
So like,
But the thing is, and the casting of Bill Skarsgård
Mm-hmm.
as Pennywise, fantastic. Because, you know, like, the way he plays, how fine he is, how menacing he is in that, the smile, the everything, the demeanor. And then, to me, they fucked up his performance through CGI over CGI over CGI.
Yeah.
Because the guy was menacing. For example, you've got Tim Curry in the original film adaptation. Sometimes you give him sharp teeth, which is great, which is a great effect. Sometimes, you know, like where it's just like, oh my God, he is scary, but he could be menacing without it. And there was no CG to enhance him. And, you know, like, I feel like they did a disservice to Bill Skarsgård because the guy's a fucking great actor.
yeah, but they didn't trust the subtleties of it. They didn't trust that the subtleties of the horror and the acting would translate on the big screen, which I think is a discredit to the producer and the director. Because trust your audience to pick up on the small things and be creeped out by them.
And don't get me wrong, you know, like when you have this creature larger than life, okay, sometimes give him that moment where he's got, you know, like his face going back. But all those, his face, you know, like basically, what would you call it, you know, opening up and you see those rows and rows of teeth. This wasn't nearly as scary as seeing him standing there, you know, like, or, you know, like coming out under the hair with
Or
the
just-
photos of the woman and then turning into Pennywise.
Or just suddenly being there between like the sheets that are hung up there to dry and just waving from a distance.
Because, you know, like
Or
this...
just the balloon.
Exactly, just... You had great atmospheric shots with an incredible actor to fill them.
You did.
And, I mean, at some point... When you go editing, you must notice this and think like less must be more in this case, because, you know, how else would you enhance it? Because I feel it took away from this. Because for every good Bill Skarsgård shot, there was 4 or 5 CGI shots where I was like, was that really necessary?
I understand the pressure that the production probably was under, because touching it, that was already
Touching
iconic.
It?
Touching it.
Name of
if
your
you know
sex
what I mean. Insane. Like, you want to do a remake of something that has become a pop culture phenomenon and is something...
For various reasons, because it's funny, it's scary, you know, like people make fun of it, but people love it.
I mean, I don't think people were scared of clowns before it. I think
Well-
no, but not like they're now.
I think it was the first time, at least to my knowledge, where the scary clown was so much in the, you know, like, what would you call it, pop culture consciousness.
Yeah. But either way, like, but that doesn't mean I dislike clowns, you know? If you give me a horror clown that is done well, I'll be scared of it. If you give me a ghost, poltergeist, anything like that if you give me a decent backstory, I'll enjoy it. I had a good time with, I'm blanking on the name now. Oh my God, there's so many franchises of that. Annabelle spawned of it, The Nun spawned of it.
Chucky?
No. It's a ghost story, ghost hunting in a house, couple that is there to help them.
The Conjuring.
Thank you! The Conjuring.
Why didn't you say, you know, like, it's in the same universe? The Nun.
Yeah,
No,
the
Conjuring.
Nun and Annabelle are spin-off. But so I highly enjoyed The Conjuring, at least the first one, because I thought the poltergeist was, or the demon, I forget what it was, but they thought it was a poltergeist, then it was a demon, or other way around. It doesn't matter. It was
Very memorable, apparently.
It was well done. It was well done. It had moments that were scary. The Babadook. I watched.
I have yet to watch that. I hear good things
That
about
was
it.
that was well done as well. I remember a horror film that I saw that was was it the Babadook? I forget, but that was playing with the hide and seek trope, where you would instead of saying Marco Polo, the person that was being sought out right now would clap when the other person would yell, and then you would have, I remember very vividly this one shot of like towards the end of the film, someone going up pitch black stairs from the cellar because the light obviously was shut off, or like the bulb exploded or something, and then there was the light coming down from the open door. They were already nearly there, and then suddenly out of the pitch black darkness, two hands come up next to her ear and just clap.
Ooh,
Fantastic.
that's effective.
You know, like it, and it's all arguably very standardized haunting stories, but they're well done, so I'll enjoy them. What I don't enjoy is superficial stuff that or stuff that is not flushed out as well. Take The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead. I don't dislike zombies per se.
May I just take over for a second?
Yes,
there?
go ahead.
Because my least favourite creature of horror is the zombie.
There you go.
Because for, what now, 15, maybe 20 years, zombies been everywhere. Don't get me wrong, you know, like, I have an appreciation for the classics like Night of the Living Dead. Because, you know, like...
That was great.
That's a great movie. It also, you know...
And athletic zombies.
It's studied in film school because, you know, like, it's basically, it's a commentary on society as a whole and racial discrimination at the time. You know, like, as a film.
Yeah.
In a genre that wasn't used to it. Or, you know, like... there was this graphic novel series called Why, The Last Man. And every now and so often there's things that work for me, like Shaun of the Dead, which makes fun of it, you know, like,
It's
because
hilarious.
exactly
28 Days Later.
I mean, yeah, 28 Days Later, fantastic movie. 28 Weeks Later, not so much. But the thing is, exactly, I watched the first 3 seasons of The Walking Dead, and it always, for me, went after the same premise. Started out interesting, 40 minutes of doing nothing with that, and then cliffhanger. Not always like this, but the thing is, I can't stand fucking zombies. Why? Because I can't stand the setting they're put in, because basically the world has ended, everybody's a zombie, and, you know, like, you've got a handful of survivors, and maybe I'm being, you know, like...
Cynical.
fatalistic, but I'm like, I don't want to live in this world.
Oh, I would kill myself.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have to kill myself, because people are like, I'd survive a zombie apocalypse. No, fuck,
You
you wouldn't.
wouldn't.
I'd
No, you
be
wouldn't.
in that crowd munching on your wife. That sounds wrong. But, you know, this is like zombies. Yes, it can be interesting and intense when you've got really well done makeup effects and then a crowd of zombies running after a single survivor. But I can't stand another zombie movie.
I will say, in terms of The Walking Dead, I've seen more of it because one of my friends, it used to be his favorite show, and I rewatched it with him for comfort reasons at some point in his life. And I've seen seasons 1 to 6, I believe. And I would have never watched it on my own, because I never managed to connect to the characters that well. For me, I always need
they're not very likable,
no,
are they?
they're not, and I always need I need either someone I can relate to or someone I can have a crush on. To put it very simple.
But everybody was in love with Daryl.
Yeah, he was the one that I was liking the most out of all of them, but more
I never got
out
that.
of necessity, you know.
Yeah, but everybody's...
Who were you gonna like? I mean, that's
everybody's
Daryl.
really in love with him, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Funnily enough, one of the women that is in the cast, I forget her name right now. She is the love interest of the Asian guy later, I believe. I think they get together. She is in Supernatural as well for a little while. That saved me a bit, because she was a guest star in 2 seasons of Supernatural, and then she was on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, you cling to what you can get, right?
Funnily enough, also Negan, very famous. You wouldn't have seen him anymore, but you would have maybe picked up in pop culture. He was the guy that comes up later that has the baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan is the father of the 2 main characters in Supernatural. He's the father of Sam and Dean.
It doesn't look that old.
And they're looking for him. That's the premise of the first 2 seasons. So I was like, oh, honey, there's John Winchester. But despite that, so that's in terms of like character and storytelling. So like I would have never gotten through that because I didn't find any characters that engaging. In terms of the zombies in the film, first of all, I think you gotta give credit to the show for the effects, because they actually look really good. And as gruesome as the show is, I mean, it's R-rated for a reason. It all looks really good. I think I mean, don't quote me on this, but it looks like they do a fair amount of practical effects instead of CGI, at least for the close-ups. So that's cool. And in the beginning, the zombies are fairly threatening. In the beginning, before they figure out and to be fair, they stay threatening. I mean, Walking Dead, as much as I saw, always worked with the same principle of zombies seem to be the threat, and then you realize humanity actually is
people.
It's always people. But and yeah, it's always the same. It's just different settings, right? But the zombies stay threatening in a way. So even though the characters have lived in this world for X amount of years now, it still remains the thing that, like, if you are caught in the wrong moment, under the wrong circumstances, you will die. Like, the zombies are a threat. But they are a bigger threat in the beginning, obviously. I distinctively remember one part because they are alerted by sound, I believe, and smell. A little bit like the Zombieland zombies. Mm-hmm. So there's a scene where the main character, what's his name, Rick, and someone else, don't know who, they were trapped somewhere, and there was a horde of zombies that they needed to get through. So what they did was they bathed themselves in
I do
gore
remember that.
and in human remains, organs, blood, everything of the dead, of zombies, basically. And then they had to shuffle in slow-mo through the zombies, because basically the zombies are sort of inactive and in power-saving mode somewhat until they are triggered. Again, basically like the Zombieland movies. And that was a scene that had me nervous. That was a well-executed scene because the danger of the zombies in that moment was very tangible. But it's something that you can only do so often. That's the thing. I think if the show had run for 2-3 seasons, I think I would have probably been like, okay, cool. But it for me, it was a stale formula. And I realized that it's ridiculous coming from a Supernatural fan. But
at the same time,
they had likable characters, what can I say?
First of all, exactly. I don't feel... I have the thing with, I want to immerse myself with what I'm consuming, not to unhealthy degree, but
not
there's yeah, exactly. there's nothing enticing about the world, because I wouldn't want to be part of this world. Mm-mm. That's not to say that it can't be interesting. I played the first Telltale's The Walking Dead. Telltale.
I've heard good things about them.
It's fantastic because of the human relationships between the different survivors and the changing dynamics. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, exactly, you've got this constant thread of basically the entire world being zombies and hostile. And for those, I think it ran through 5 episodes or something. That's interesting because you've got a constant lingering threat that's always present. Mm-hmm. At the same time, you as the main character try to get a young girl to safety, whatever that may look like.
Yeah.
And exactly that. I think this is a formula for a set amount of time. As a series, 3 seasons, maybe 4, to either get where you want to go, because otherwise your world becomes stale. And it's not so much that I dislike zombies, it's just the setting they're put into. Because normally with zombie settings, you've got something along the lines of the world as we know it has ended. Everything's zombies. And I know there's variations on this, there's the, what would you call it? To an extent, the Resident Evil franchise, where it's just Raccoon City or, the surrounding areas.
Except for 7 and 8, which I both quite enjoyed. I thought 8 wasn't as horror-y anymore, but it was a cool gothic style.
Yes. And 7 also, with the more Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And I quite enjoyed 7. I quite liked 7.
I watched the Let's Play
I also watched that.
on
I didn't
VR.
play them. I
could never,
play.
especially not on VR.
And I realized people are like, it's not Resident Evil anymore. That's totally fair, but I thought for horror games they work quite well.
But this is the thing. And I've stopped consuming anything pertaining to zombies because it was always similar to my experience, the world has ended, somebody's trying to survive, and I always thought what for? Because it's not going to
That is a valid.
It's not going to get better unless you find a deserted island that's big enough where you can sustain yourself. Then maybe enjoy it.
World War Z, Brad Pitt.
I thought about watching that,
and I actually saw it in cinema. with my uncle. I think to this day it's the only film I've seen with my uncle in cinema. I think I was 13 or 14 at the time. And that premise is interesting because the idea behind that is Brad Pitt is trying to get person or thing from A to B, because cure. And that's something I can get behind.
Yes, of course, because it's the same.
Because they're like, we found something, we can reverse this.
It's the same as with 28 Days Later.
Exactly.
Starts out strong premise, I think it didn't have too big of a budget, but for me, familiar setting. We're talking London here. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Exactly, and then thinking, okay, we're trying to get to we're trying to get to a safe haven where we should be fine, and apparently. We don't know the extent of this, but there's a safe haven apparently when you can rebuild something like human civilization, or you still have it to an extent where you're just like, it's not just me and 5 other people, because where I'm like, what's the point of that? No. This is something like, this might get better. And don't get me wrong, I don't necessarily always need a happy ending, but when I have from the fucking get-go a world where you can basically go nowhere, and I know The Walking Dead is like, I think along the lines of, we need to get to the coast, maybe get to a boat or something like this.
Yeah, but I don't think, I stopped watching at some point, but then, will it ever get better? I don't know.
Exactly, and then it basically lives off the human drama and the surrounding zombie.
And for that, you need to like the characters, and if you don't like the characters, what are you watching it for? Hi, that's me.
Exactly. Or, I don't feel like you necessarily always need to like the characters, but you need to find them fascinating.
Be engaged with them, yeah.
Exactly. And I know there's a lot of people who really enjoy the characters in The Walking Dead.
A lot of people hate us for this, probably. So
probably. But I didn't like it. And I read some of the graphic novels before the show came out because they were readily available in, public libraries in Britain. And I was like, okay.
You always read your comics in libraries. That's so funny.
Yeah. I was the big nerd sitting there with 4 or 5 graphic novels.
I love that.
It was a good time. But I don't know. I'm trying so hard right now to think of a zombie movie that I can actually. Don't you dare start quoting Linkin Park, because we'll turn this into a whole different episode entirely. But I don't know. It can be fun. Michael Jackson's Thriller. It plays with different monster types, and mainly the zombie, obviously. But I don't know. It's not so much the zombie, and I say, yes, this is about the creature that I hate most, but it's more in extent...
The setting of it.
The setting that's become so very desperate, where it's like, there's no hope.
Because I will say, I don't think, like I said, I don't think I have a creature I hate. I think... Because even the creatures that give me the creeps, people may remember from 2 episodes ago when you brought up Joey, and I had a very strong reaction to the idea of cursed puppet. That doesn't mean I hate puppets as horror monsters. Quite the opposite. They're great because I have such a strong response to them, so that if they're done in a good way, gimme. I will not sleep for 3 days, but gimme.
Yeah.
And same with, I don't know if I ever said this on the podcast, but I'm more of a fantasy person than a sci-fi person, because I don't love the whole spaceship setting and space setting as much, because I'm kind of missing a bit of color and missing organic material. If there's too much steel and just laser beams and stuff. I mean, I still watch it. Don't get me wrong. I've still seen Star Wars. And
it's not your first choice, though.
I've still seen Star Trek, but I prefer lush greenery over steel. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy the Alien films. I just recently rewatched Prometheus. I
didn't care for that one.
I don't mind it. Also, I like Michael Fassbender, but
well, who the fuck doesn't? That guy's a snack.
I don't know. I don't dislike the premise, and it was just, I've seen Prometheus when it came out. I was like, what haven't I seen in a while? Let's just rewatch it. I'm not opposed to Alien films at all. The Thing, when 1980 something, 83.
And it's a remake, and I think it's Wes Craven as well.
That's why I was.
And the creature effects are outstanding. Don't eat watching that movie.
No, but it's great. Or even, I don't know, because I something will scare me, that's quite the opposite of me disliking it. I quite like it. I just dislike specific, I guess I dislike wasted potential, to sound super pretentious.
No, but I think I sort of get it, because, what she said earlier, flashed out backstories.
Yeah.
And, you know, like with, I'm sick and tired, especially with zombies, where it's like, well, you know, there was a virus or whatever, and, you know, like now the world's zombies, and these are the 5 survivors. It's like, oh, really? We're doing that again? Well, that's interesting, is it?
I've never seen this before. Not.
Yeah, like, what's the premise? And again, you know, like in Telltale's The Walking Dead, the stakes were clear. But, you know, like, this was a limited time affair. And the characters were done so interestingly, and some of them even likable, where I was like, okay, let's see how this plays out. But even in a setting I normally don't care for, because I knew 5 episodes, then I'm done. So let's see. So there's shelf life. With the Walking Dead, it just went on and on and on, and I cared for no one really.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're shitting a lot on The Walking Dead here, but this is, for me,
It's just a prominent example for the genre.
Exactly, for the whole genre, because, you know, like, I don't know, if I were to go back in time again, Night of the Living Dead, fantastic. The original Dawn of the Dead, also very interesting.
You know what I forgot completely, even though I saw it? I Am Legend. Basically, don't remember any of it, other than that there's a dog, and I think it dies.
It does. Also, the alternative ending for I Am Legend is so much better than the ending we all got to see. So if you've got the time, if you've got,
I'm just
get your hands on the DVD, watch the alternative ending.
I'm just trying to think of like zombie properties. Obviously, Zombieland is fantastic.
Zombieland is fucking outstanding.
And I mean, 1 is great. 2 also doesn't need to be ashamed of itself, even though it came out 10 years after 1.
I'm not even sure I watched it.
But we can watch it at some point. It's a decent watch. Like, you wouldn't be mad that you watch it. Obviously, 1 was genre defining in a way, like in terms of like zombie comedy, beautiful. But those are also great. And I don't hate the zombies in that. They can be quite funny.
Exactly. It's the same with Shaun of the Dead. But we're talking, you know, like we're talking about,
which is one of our favorite films, by the way.
Absolutely.
So.
Anything Cornetto trilogy, anything Simon Pegg, really. You know, like, most favourite, obviously, Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
But, you know, like...
But Shaun of the Dead, second.
Shaun of the Dead absolutely knew what was wrong with zombies, you know, like, what worked about it, what didn't work about it. And there was still exactly this whole fatalistic view on things. It's obvious. Because, you know, like, the world basically is ended, yes. But, you know, like, these characters were likable, and it was such a British response to just say, like, okay, there's a zombie apocalypse, let's go down to the pub.
And I will say, a lot of people probably think of vampires when we say least favorite creature, because in all fairness, I understand that people have vampire fatigue, because there was an oversaturation with the Twilight films that basically raped the idea of what a vampire is for a lot of people, and the Vampire Diaries TV show, when just production companies decided to turn vampires into a heartthrob, I think that ruined the creature for a lot of people. But I think if vampires are done well, they are still fun.
If vampires are done well, I mean, first of all, of course, you've got things like, you know, great performances like Gary Oldman and Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah.
Also, Anthony Hopkins in that movie. The original Fright Night.
Yeah.
Which is wonderfully done with the creature effects. There's great vampire movies. The original Dracula from 1931.
I mean, that is
Bela Lugosi.
culture.
1920 or 21's Nosferatu, which is public domain now. Look it up. You can watch it on YouTube.
It's cool.
It's Max Schreck is fantastic.
Yeah.
Or, you know, Shadow of the Vampire, which is a fictional account of the shooting of Nosferatu.
And people actually thought Max Schreck was a genuine vampire.
Exactly. I mean, it's obviously fictional, but it stars John...
No, but it also had a cult following that people were scared of him back in the day. Like, people
which inspired
sure
Shadow of the Vampire. And then you've got
has
John
a real
Malkovich
story.
as the director. And you've got bloody Willem Dafoe as
insane.
Max Schreck, which is outstanding.
Yeah. So that's I think that makes it very clear that the creature in of itself, I mean, what we like, but I think when it comes to dislike, it's unfair to put one creature how it is into the spotlight like that. It just has to do with how it's implemented, because there can be fun zombie ways to do it. There can be shit werewolves.
Absolutely.
And there can be great vampires to this day. Like, it all comes down to the entire franchise, to the film, to everything.
I just feel like zombies, especially, it's gone stale.
Yeah.
A lot. If you guys know of any good zombie examples,
let us know.
I'm more than happy, you know, like, to indulge in that.
Yeah.
Because I love having my views challenged because
Absolutely.
this was great, this was fantastic. But in terms of what I consumed through mainstream or what was brought to me so far, I just didn't care for it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good takeaway from this. We had our favorites,
Exactly.
we had our least favorites. It's all about the way it's done.
If you want to leave us recommendations, you can put that in the little box where you can say what you thought of the episode, and we'll look into it.
Absolutely.
If there's something that had you scream at your phone for the last hour or something, do drop it, and we will have a look. And I think otherwise,
until then, we'll see you we'll hear you, or you hear us at the
we
next
all
episode.
hear each other.